Hey everyone, I'm Ingrid Ahumada.
Hello folks, I'm Rick Meekins.
Join us for the next half hour on Epiphany Off the Cuff, where we will discuss what's going on in the entrepreneurial community. Welcome to Off the Cuff. We are really happy to have you. You know, you are a really busy person, mom, entrepreneur, a businesswoman. Like, oh my God, you are a full package.
Oh my God.
So welcome, and we're really happy to have you here.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. I'm thrilled. I've been looking forward to it.
Cool. We are we're just so happy to see you. And it's been a while since we actually got to sit down and talk. So this is gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
So as you know, on the show, we invite entrepreneurs to come in and tell a little about their story. And we want to educate people, inspire people, motivate people to just continue on the journey. It gets rough, it gets exciting. There are highs and lows. So if you would, I would love it if you would share some of what you've been through.
One of the things I think I talk about in my TED talk was just, seeing my dad, come home from work every day. He was like not happy. He was miserable. And I thought, I don't want to feel like that. Mm-hmm. So I always kind of knew that I wanted to be my own boss. But I didn't know what I wanted to do. Boss, yeah. Growing up, my energy was more considered crazy, right? So I really went around for a long time thinking, why can't I just, I have a friend named Ricardo McRae, and he's just been amazing to me my whole life. But we both struggled sort of in our early 20s because we were these crazy, wild people, and our parents really wanted to put us into the structure. Like they came from a Caribbean background. You leave the Caribbean to come to North America to build a better life. It's like, you're not going to do this foolishness. What do you mean you're working for yourself? You're going to get a good government job. You're going to get your education. You're going to get a good government job, and we had heartbreak over that and struggle over that. And it was like, why can't we just color within the lines? Why can't we just be normal, to the point where it's like, well, what is normal? And we are who we are. And it just happened that we just had big dreams or visions that people couldn't really see. So it looked like odd behavior. So to have it actually manifest now, it's kind of like, oh, I wasn't crazy after all. So
exactly.
Yeah, I'm really happy about that. And one of my goals in life was just, oh, are you tired? One of my goals, okay, have the chicken. One of my goals in life was to be my children's superhero or their idol. My entrepreneurial journey started off in network marketing with Primerica Financial Services. And there was a guy there, Hector Lamarck, and he used to have a zero negative tolerance. Like there was zero negativity in his office. He would actually kick you out. He was militant about it. And I hadn't known or seen or experienced anyone like that. Another thing I learned from him is if he got mad, he would take a few days to calm down, and then he would approach you, in a calm, emotionally dealt with manner. Mm-hmm. So I learned a lot from him and sort of carried that into my own thing. But one of the things he also said, he's like, I want to be my children's idol. How kids have not so much anymore, but how they used to have posters on their wall of their favorite rock star, their favorite actress. He's like, no, I want to be their superhero. I want to be the one that they look up to. And I was like, oh, that never even struck me as a possibility. And I was like, I want to do that. I want to lead by example, and so I have a program. It's called the Mappdom International Leadership and Development Program. So MILD, M-I-L-D. Mm-hmm. And my son started off in that program because, I know we're going to talk about legacy and building your business, but I built the business in such a way that I could leave it to him. So, having standard operating procedures, having our pay cycles, who our clients are, all of those things, so that if he wants to, he can inherit the business and not have to work for the man. And, being a Black person in corporate sometimes, in white corporate America or North America can be difficult. So I'm like, if you don't want to do that, there's this option available for you. And so he talks about, when he started off in the program, or even seeing me start off with this, I had sticky notes all over the walls, and that was my business. And then, so he did a video, and he talks about how it's really cool for him to see, you know, the business go from sticky notes to like it's actually out there in the world. And now, you know, he sees clients. Marcus is, I would say 60 or 65% of the way independent enough to like take over, get clients, know what to say, know how to help, know how to get them results. And I feel really
that's great.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel that if, you know, God forbid any, because none of us know when our last day or moment or breath is going to be, right? So I can rest comfortably at night knowing that if something happens to me, that I've left them, you know, a business and like a legacy. So just to make their journey a little easier, because my dad made the journey a heck of a lot easier for me. I mean, both of my parents, you know, with what they instilled in me. And my father, I remember my father was like totally adamant about school. My father was thinking about him today, very sharp looking dude. He always, whenever he would go out, he used to, him and his sister, his brothers and sisters, they always just like to go out. They had their jewelry and their cologne. And, you know, I would have to be the one who would have to iron my dad's pants and stuff like so. You know what? So they always looked. So anyway, my dad was one of the cool guys all the time growing up. He said that he could never be bothered with school. He was too cool for school. He was hanging out on the corner with the boys, you know, playing soccer and all that kind of stuff. And so what they call those kind of boys, well, actually not him, but they would call them saga boys. Oh, look at them saga boys. Right? And so he said as he got older, he realized it was all the nerds that were now doing well and driving the fancy cars and going on trips. And like him and all his cool boys were now working for them. Right? So his whole message to me growing up was, you know, just don't focus on being cool. Cool is only cool for a little while, but you got to set yourself up for success. And, you know, I used to think my dad had like this black chip on his shoulder, but of course I didn't have the realization or context of, you know, what he grew up in terms of, you know, he was born in the 40s. So he was there for the whole civil rights and stuff like that. You know, and he would tell me, look, you're black and you're a woman. You know, you have no choice but to get your education in this world or you're going to have a very hard time. And I didn't know what that meant. Like, but I'm like, okay, daddy, because, you know, that's what you do. That's what kids do. They do what their parents said to do. Right. So I did that. I went to school. I did very well. And, you know, like I say, now I have the life that I have right now. So he put me in a better position and I have to also put my children in a better position and they will do that. Right. That's why, you know, the Rockefellers and all these guys, they're just living life because they have like generations and legacies of wealth, like old money. They have old money, right? So we need to start creating some old money. We may not be able to necessarily enjoy all of it right now, just the way that my dad didn't get to enjoy the freedom I have now. You know, he worked really hard.
Yeah.
But now, like Marcus, for example, he has a little bit, like when he goes to jobs and stuff like that, like not now, but when he was like in his teens, you know, when you like doing retail or fast food or call center stuff, you know, he's like, I don't actually have to take this. I can work in my mom's company. You know? And oddly enough, when COVID came out, like I had posted something on my social media that we were hiring. And when COVID came out, Marcus, he's been working for the city of Toronto for a long time. And they said, well, all the community centers have to shut down now. But if you want, you can come and work at a long-term healthcare facility, right? And he's like, just because like, I don't think that that's such a good idea. And his girlfriend was like, I think you better talk to your mom about that because I don't think she'd be too happy with that decision. And isn't she looking for people right now? You know what I mean? And yeah, I was telling somebody that, you know, again, in his late teens, early 20s, he would have to hop on a bus or two buses to get to work at, you know, his call center job or whatever. Meanwhile, if he could drive or if he had a car, it's only like a 15-minute drive. But, you know, with public transportation, you have all this coordination to do.
Yeah.
We lost her?
Or whatever. This while he was in university. And I thought, I don't want that for you. I want you to like work in my digital marketing company and you can work on a campaign at 2:00 in the morning or 2:00 in the afternoon, or, you know, you can sort of work your schedule around your life instead of always having to work your life around your schedule. And, you know, he's been able to do that. So whether you're doing a strategic campaign or, you know, coming up with a Facebook ad or writing content for a blog, you could do that at any time of the day or night, as long as you meet the deadlines, right? So, you know, that's the whole thing I wanted to give him freedom and empowerment. And that's actually embedded in my my brand. Track my journey from 2016 when I left my job, and Rick, as you know, at that time I was also starting to notice challenges with my daughter's behavior, which I also speak about in my TED Talk, right? That was in 2016. And I was just testing the water, doing a little bit of business with some centers of influence that I knew if I had success with them, it would give me credibility in the market and I could expand my brand. And then 2017, I was like, okay, you got to really do it now. So, I mean, rent, everything is totally dependent on you now, like holy shit moment. And all of those struggles, like I was money in, was money out. And everybody had to pay their bills on time in order for me to pay my bills on time. And that doesn't always happen with entrepreneurs, right? So sometimes their credit card wouldn't go through or something. And that means I didn't get paid, which meant my bills didn't get paid. So then I'm into like a negative in my account. And I'm vlogging about all of this. And then I broke up with my guy. And then it was very obvious that my daughter had some issues. And I was feeling very, very depressed. And I'm wondering, why am I struggling so hard trying to build this business? Like, to leave a legacy for who or for what? I'm like, I don't know how this is ever going to benefit my daughter. And I was like, well, you know what? Like, I've got a life insurance policy. So you know what? If anything ever happens to me, my son will get X amount of dollars. I don't have to like drive myself crazy trying to get clients every day, service the clients, produce good work, follow up with your staff, do all your taxes. I mean, being a small business owner and entrepreneur it's crazy. And then you've got like social issues. Your family may or may not support you. You're working all the time. You feel guilty when you're not working. You guys were talking about that work-life balance. And so, yeah, it can be really overwhelming. And oh my gosh, she's really excited. Yeah. So I just wanted to make sure that, people had an opportunity to learn how to do things correctly. Sort of take the corporate approach and build their business and have success. And like I said, build have the freedom lifestyle, right? So it's really, again, Mappdom is really about empowerment and freedom at the end of the day. And I did know that I wanted to travel. I knew that I wanted a business that would be necessary for any and everybody. And of course, everyone always needs marketing services, and digital marketing would allow me to work anywhere. So I knew that's what I wanted to do. I was passionate about it. I was good at it. And then I think in 2016, I'd been dabbling in business a little bit here and there that like a lot of people do, but never really having the level of success that I wanted. And so I thought, you know what? And my daughter and I at the time, like, to be honest, we were like shit talking people. We're like, oh, look at so-and-so. I mean, they're not even doing well. Or oh, so-and-so. We're like, wait a second. All we're doing is talking. We're not doing anything either. So it was kind of like, pardon my language, it was kind of like shit or get off the pot. And so in 2016, I started dabbling more in it and, reaching out to centers of influence. And, I knew if I did good marketing campaigns for them or good marketing or good mobile apps for them, I would get attention from, their followers, and that would give me more business. So I started that in 2016. And then in 2017, I sort of went all in because I felt like, I really did want to be independent. I really did. I mean, the legacy wasn't that important. It wasn't that it was that important at the time, but that was not the focus. The focus was like, can you really be self-sufficient? Can you really be self-reliant? Can you really make enough money to pay your bills? Can you really do this? And I thought, well, the only way you're going to know is if you really actually go out there and try. And it's very scary. I think for a small business owner to do that, I know some small business owners that don't even want to post on social media because they're going to have to put themselves out there. Or, they're like, oh my gosh, I just launched my website and now it's actually out there. People can see it. And, oh, I'm going to be judged. And so there's a lot of that, there's a lot of, there's a lot of ups and downs. And I think I was telling you guys earlier about, when you just start making enough money in your business to start covering all your bills, I was like money in, money out. So if a client's credit card didn't go through, or if a client didn't pay their bill on time, it really messed me up. And then, you run into financial challenges, and then, there's so many other things to deal with. There's taxes, customer service. You have to deploy or execute, your service or product. You have to do it well. You have to follow up. There's just, you have to manage relationships and, social opportunities. So yeah, it can be challenging. It can be frustrating and lonely. And a lot of entrepreneurs actually suffer from depression. Like she's a PhD. I think she's a doctor of business or something, but she's literally a business doctor. So, if your business is sick, she will help you out. And she's one of the ones that told me that a lot of entrepreneurs suffer from guilt, or, they're taking time away from their family. Some break up, some partners leave. Some business partners stab you in the back, some relationships change. Like, there's a lot, and you still want to be healthy. You still want to work out. You still want to eat right. You still want to do all of those things. But running a business and being an entrepreneur is like a whole other being in existence. So it's like, 48 hours and 24. Yeah.
It's true.
I always talk about being a powerful manifester. And I remember back in 2016, when I was working, I was walking home. I got off the bus a couple stops early, and I walked home for 2 blocks just so I could have that alone time before I get back into the house, and, then at dinner time and all that chaos. And I thought, you know what? Life is really rough. And I'm like, I want to leave a legacy for my grandchildren. Of course, not ever thinking one was going to come anytime soon. So I totally brought this upon myself. That's why I say I'm a really powerful manifestor. But I'm like, I want to leave her, not knowing she would ever really come to be like this, at this time or whatever, little clues about life, like timeless classic lessons about life that can help them get through. So I started documenting those things. And I also started documenting, like I say, my entrepreneurial journey, the ups and the downs, the financial scares, the clients paying or not paying, the exhilaration of getting a new client and closing it, or, the nerves of like stepping into a new realm or taking your level of leadership to the next level, right? I track that whole thing. And, the goal is to produce a series called M Slice TV, which is marketing with a slice of life on the side, because I realized no one really cares if I was a marketing company. If I was just selling marketing services, nobody would really care. But, you put some drama in it, you put a little bit of controversy in it, a little bit of sex in it, a little bit of something, people look. People look, they watch, they pay attention, right? So like, I totally know what I'm doing. And because not everybody can afford marketing services. So my goal is that by people sort of following my journey and sort of watching over my shoulder is me, working on real campaigns, including building my own business to where it is now, using a formula I developed over time, having worked with different corporations, different industries, et cetera. I'm like, this formula works. It works in corporations, and I wanted to prove that it could work for small businesses on a limited budget, right? Just like having effective marketing through organic free means, right? And once you start getting leads and some sales and some conversions, you can start to invest in more professional marketing or have a marketing company take care of it for you. But the majority of us, 80% of us, don't have a lot of money when we start our entrepreneurial journey, right? And especially if you're, a person of color. Like, somebody on my team had done a study, and they said that people in the Black community, we start with about $3,000 of startup capital, and our Caucasian or other counterparts start with like about 100,000. They're able to raise capital from friends and family, and their inheritance and all that kind of stuff. So it's at different levels, and I really wanted to try to level the playing field just by giving our community and small businesses in general just the marketing know-how and tools they needed to succeed. With heroes, there's always like the hero's journey where, they start off and then or Superman or Spider-Man, any of those things. It's like a person, they have a normal life, and then they realize they're different, and then they're called to a mission, and then they deny their mission, and then something happens and they can no longer hold themselves back, and then they do it, and then they triumph, and then they fall, and then they redeem themselves, right? So all of that is deliberately kind of worked into the TED Talk. just like sort of around my life. And,
Right.
I had to make sure that I caught enough of a general attention and appeal in the beginning by tapping into people's psychological needs, right? Whether it's sex or understanding or love or education or money, it's like we're all sort of after the same thing. And how do you get it? Most people don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Or let me not say most people don't know. Let me say that there are a lot of options and a lot of paths to get there, but what I did for me worked. And I'm like, well, hey, if it worked for me and it's given me this great life, maybe it could work for someone else, because I really do enjoy my life right now. And I didn't at one time in my life. One time in my life, I was pretty down and miserable, and I've had challenges, but it can't be always me. We've all had our challenges, like, you know what I mean? So, but I think based on some of the things that have happened, I've sort of come through quite well. And I'm like, maybe there is something to my formula of, like, even today, I think I posted on my Instagram about just being happy. Just implemented all of the techniques that I use in creating other marketing plans and strategies for corporations. I applied them to Mappdom, and to see them actually work, and I was like, wow, you know what I mean? So that's even why I was saying with the TED Talk, it's like, there's marketing formula behind that. There are certain hooks. Like, I'll say something in the TED Talk, like, blah, 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 but I'll talk about that in a minute. First, let me tell you why this talk is important to me. And the reason I do that is because your mind psychologically has to close that loop. So you are deliberately paying attention to my entire talk, because psychologically in the back of your mind, you're waiting for me to tell you the answer to this question, right? So that's just marketing strategy. That's just all the things that are in the radio commercials, the television commercials, the thing that make you buy food or buy a fast car or cologne. I mean, it's all just, neuromarketing and neurolinguistic programming, and, just like using the word imagine. Like, as soon as you use the word imagine, people, they start to imagine something. So, you see when the pros do it, they're like, oh, imagine if you were, living on a beach and blah, blah, blah. And then you're like, yeah, imagine that. Here's my credit card. You know what I mean? And so, so to have known that I've had corporate success, and then to say, well, can a small business entrepreneur with no real money use those same tactics and have success, and then to get on, then to be, chosen to do a TED Talk, and then to do the TED Talk, but not only do that, but get on their official TEDx page. That was really, I'm like, oh my God, the big guys have seen it in the mic and they put it on their official page. So I'm like, this works. Let me show small businesses that it can work for them too, right? So when I have time, the goal is to produce that series. Well, yeah, I hope I answered your question.
I think you did.
So what else do you got for me? What else do you want to know?
I want to hear a little bit about your formula.
Whatever. But there are a couple things. So I'm going to let out all of my secrets now on your podcast. But
put you on mute first.
yeah. But no, I've decided I'm just going to put myself all out there this year. So we know one of the biggest things when you're trying to market your business, well, you and I know this again, because, we completed our MBA and not everybody gets all of that sort of inside access. But differentiating yourself in the market is key. I work with a lot of small businesses and they're like, oh, I want to attract more customers. How do I do it? How do I use social media? And that's always challenging for me, because I want to be like, we have to take 7 steps back, sweetheart. Like, we are not there, but they don't necessarily want to do like the research work and the foundational stuff, right? So I'm like, that's really the way that you got to do it. Anyway, so like I said, when I started this back in 2016, I was just a marketing company. And, of course, I did my competitive research. I was like, well, how do I market myself different than other people? So I started looking at my formula. I'm like, what do I do for every single company? What do I do every single time? And I wrote it down. And then, like, I'm sorry, I'm making these hand visions because I have like a whiteboard. And
yeah.
I mean, my whiteboard right as I'm speaking with you.
We're going to have to add some graphics.
Yeah. No, I have them. They're ready. Like, I'll send them to you in a PowerPoint, and then you can send them off to your gang. Awesome. But so I realized that I had there are 10 commandments of marketing. There are 10 things, 10 steps that every company, every product, every brand has to do. And I think I know most of the 10 commandments by heart. So let me try. But the first one is know thy business and to thy business be true. The second one is know thy competitors' ways and you'll never be blue. And then shine thy light on what makes thou great. And then honor thou audience segments in every single way. And then I think it's rely not just on one marketing strategy. There's another one that's it's do testing and be dense. And basically there are these 10 commandments. And the last commandment is moving to paid advertising only after you've tested organically. Because a lot of people just take their budget. Like I say, I've seen people waste thousands of dollars on Facebook or Google ads because they really don't know what they're doing. Jordan, out of your mouth. They really don't know what they're doing. But if they follow these 10 steps, they'll know what to do. So anyway, when I apply that formula to Mappdom, the first one is know thy business and to thy business be true. So it's who am I? Am I a mobile app company? Am I a marketing company? I got feedback, I did focus groups and stuff like that. When I looked at, and the second commandment is know thy competitors' ways and you'll never be blue. So when I started to look at the other competitors, I realized, well, some people had the experience, but not the education, or some people had, the education, but they hadn't had the expertise. And I'm like, oh, I have all three of these things. So that's how I was able to differentiate myself and map them in the market. I'm like, well, our strategies are based on education, experience, and expertise. No, but I knew nobody else could argue those 3 points, right? So that's just I'm saying, that's knowing myself and then getting a competitive edge. And once I was able to do that, the next step is know thy audience and to thy audience be true. Oh no, shine thy light on what makes thou great. So that's what I said. My strengths are my education, my experience, and my expertise. The next commandment is honor thou audience segments in every single way. So who is your target market? Really doing your brand persona and not just this shallow Google search where oh, I'm going to do a brand persona. I'm like, what do they eat on Thursday night? I mean, not that specific, but I mean, really know your target audience. What are they thinking about? What are they worrying about? Where do they shop? Where do they hang out online? What's their interest? And then you have to position yourself sort of within that conversation and show them how you are providing a solution to a problem that they're having now, because they're not looking for you to just sell them something, right? So basically, you can take that formula. I'll actually be posting a video maybe later today or later this week. We just have a new client, Bellow Styles in Grand Prairie, Alberta, Canada. And I'm like, okay, a new client. They want us to manage their social media. Where do I start? And I think that's where all small businesses kind of start mentally. And so I'm like, oh, just what are the 10 commandments? So it's know thy business and to thy business be true. Who are you? Why did it start? Who are your competitors? You know what I mean? What makes you different? And then shine your light on that. So that's part of the formula. Like I said, I've applied all of them to Mappdom. I'm still not at the organic part. I'm not at commandment 10 because I'm not investing any money in paid ads until I know what formula works. And even with my social media, I was just playing around with it at first, and I had 406 followers, and that was just friends and family. And I was like, no, I need to see who is really engaging, who likes my content, and sort of build a buyer persona and demographic around that. And so I grew my numbers now to 1,400. So within 6 months, I gained 1,000 followers. And I know there are businesses that they go out there and they buy followers. You have 13,000 followers from countries that don't even speak your language. And you know what I mean? Just fake followers. I'm like, I don't want to do that because statistically, that doesn't benefit me at all. I don't actually know who my target market is, who likes my stuff. What's your profile? Are you 54? Are you 45 to 54? Where are you in the socioeconomic status, or what's your position, what's your education level, how much time do you spend online, is it on your phone, on your tablet, is it at home, or is it at work, is it a day, is it at night, who are you? So when I can compile that data, I can create specific marketing campaigns around your needs and showcase them at times and add platforms where you're sort of digitally hanging out to catch your attention, and then provide copy or video that piques your interest, gets you to, we do an exchange, you give me your email information and I'll give you this free report or access to this. Like I said, with the lead nurturing, that's when you do the email and you just follow up. And when they're ready to buy, they do. You know, like I post a lot again on my social media about Mappdom, but I'm not really ready to take on a whole bunch more clients because I don't have all of the resources to service those clients, and I don't want to do it all myself. I got this little grandbaby to take care of, right?
There you go.
But the point is, I'm always keeping top of mind. And then when people are ready, they just contact me. It's pull marketing, right? I'm not being like, oh, buy from me. I'm like, oh, yeah, well, we have a business opportunity. Or, yeah, you know, we do logos. I'm pretty impressed with my marketing because it's very subtle. It's very like, it's just like a little commercial, just like all the other commercials in your life. It's not too intrusive. It's always a little reminder that, oh, hi, Mappdom's there. Hi, yeah, do this. So, oh, hi, here's a little testimonial. Or, hey, we got a new client. Or, good job, social media person. You know what I mean? So, and I think a lot of people don't know that there's a social media strategy, or they don't have one, or they don't have one that's customized to them. Like they might go online and find something that says, oh, this should be your social media strategy. So they do that. But again, if you don't follow those 10 commandments and know who you are, know who your competitors are, and, you know what makes you great, and know who your audience is, and, you know, what channels to be on, you're going to struggle. And my goal is to help people struggle less so that they can, you know, make more money, gain more customers, make more money, and live the freedom lifestyle. That's really kind of my goal. But when you have a basic understanding of how it works or what you can produce, you know, if you can produce an app and sell it, you know, and make some money that way, or learn how to code, or, you know, there's like, we're going digital. That's the way that it's going. So, you know, and I sort of got into MarTech, marketing technology, because I had a fear of technology. I think technology can be really scary. And I was like, it's just going to keep expanding, and it's just going to be more and more rapid. So if I don't like get comfortable with it now, you know, I'm going to fall further and further behind. And, you know, I'm trying to stay as young as long as possible. And if I don't even keep up with technology, then I'm going to be like a real old fuddy-duddy who just doesn't know what's going on in the world. Yeah. You know, so I started to embrace technology and get familiar with technology. And I worked in a couple of like fintech companies or education tech companies. And now when people work with Mappdom, I'm like, okay, well, there are a couple of things you have to get comfortable with: Dropbox and Trello, and maybe like, you know, Google Drive and Docs and stuff like that, because you're not sending me 50 pictures in an email. That's not happening, right? Like, you know, and some of my customers, especially the older ones, they want to push back a little, and they get mad. They get upset with me. Or I'm like, if you just get WhatsApp on your phone, we can just leave each other voice notes. It's really quick. And they're like, oh, I didn't want to download an app on my phone. Or, you know, like, we got to do Zoom. I don't know how to use Zoom, you know? And so I tease them just like I'm doing now. But the fact is, their customers are going to be, can you guys hear me with this, like, this background track?
Background music.
She's really excited. But it's like your customers are having digital experiences, and they're having, you know, digital convenience, UX, UI with other companies with which they're engaging. And if you're not on that level, you know, if you're not competing at the same level, psychologically, you're not on the same tier, and you're going to fall further and further behind from a competitive level. So I'm like, if you can get comfortable with Dropbox and WhatsApp right now, then, you know, that's just going to help you with other marketing technology. Again, whether it's email automation or programmatic, or like big time stuff, not just, oh, I have a website that I made on XYZ, you know, website with no content strategy, no keyword strategy, no research, and then wondering, why am I not getting success? Because, you know, so it breaks my heart. And I have a lot of friends who are entrepreneurs, and, you know, I remember 20 years ago, we're all like, yeah, we're going to make millions of dollars and our families are going to hang out. And then, you know, a decade would go by, and I was like, oh, this is not happening for, you know, 50% of my friends. And then, you know, a decade and a half would go by, I'm like, wow, this is really not happening for 80% of my friends. I was like, I got to do something about this. You know, those people with an entrepreneurial drive that just want to do better and do right by their families, I really want to give them the chance to do that by giving them, again, empowering them with the proper marketing and education tools they need to build their business better. And I have a very easy, simple, like systematic formula that I follow that anybody can follow. And that's why I was also testing it on my son, because I'm like, if a kid right out of university who has no real interest in marketing can do this, then anybody can do this. And he's very grateful for the experience because it's been invaluable in him getting other jobs, like, because he's a journalist and he does a lot of freelance work, so he's like, oh gosh, Mom, you're always in my head. Like, I have to write an article and all I'm thinking about is SEO, or, oh gosh, Mom, I was thinking about this thing. I'm like, I really should do a marketing strategy for this. He's like, oh, you know what I mean? So I'm like, it worked. So like I said, I can rest my head at night knowing that I set up the legacy for the kids in this way. And
one of the questions that I have is not of your business. It's just more like about your vision, or maybe your let's say your purpose, because you were talking about how you have like maybe merged that, right, between your life and your work and your company, and how you have created all about this. But beyond the legacy that you want to leave with your company, how that combines or how that mixes with your life vision as well.
Okay, great. People start to look at their business in that way. They may operate it differently, or operate with a different sense of urgency, or care more about than just making their mortgage and their rent and their food and paying their car note. That's super important, right? Mm-hmm. But if you want to take it a next step further so that your kids aren't, they're like leaps and bounds ahead, instead of just having a comfortable life and a few extra vacations a year, there's a big difference. There's a big difference in those two things, a big difference in those two things. So, I'm hoping to show people that by example, with, vulnerability and authenticity, and just, being a real person. Because I think that you can connect with people. Because again, I've known celebrities, politicians, CEOs, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, I know that people are the same. I know that people suffer the same fears and vulnerabilities, just at different levels or scales or whatever. So I don't have to front, because I'm like, somebody right now is resonating with how I'm feeling. Somebody gets this right now. And, that's all that's important to me. I'm not just trying to always look good online. Like, sometimes I post some things and I get some calls from my family, but I'm like, hey, like, people are connecting with it. Like, you may not like it, but they're messaging me and saying things like, I'm inspiring you, or, like, let me ask you a question about mental health, or, you know what I mean? So I'm not really worried about my quote unquote pride, because when I die, it doesn't matter. I take this BS pride, quote unquote, with me. Like I always say, it's the legacy that you leave behind that matters, because people die. And then, like, my dad died last year, and my father-in-law died. And before that, my aunt died. And, I used to be so fearful of death. I used to think that there were people, if they exited my life, I too would die. And that didn't happen. And then it struck me that I'm like, life goes on, and you're not as important as you think you are. And I remember I lived in Japan in 2008, 2009. And I remember waking up one day and I'm thinking, wow, I'm back home worried about my phone bill, because the phone company's calling me. Meanwhile, people halfway around the world don't even know I exist. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not that important. You know what I mean? I'm not that important. And we're all not that important. We're all like one breath away from, the whole equalizing factor. All this other stuff that we make up and put value on is just stuff that we have said, whoever has determined to be important, your car, your labels, all those kind of stuff. But once you're gone, you're gone. You can't take your millions or billions with you. So the only thing that really matters, the only thing that really lives on, is the legacy you leave behind. You know what I mean? And for me, that's like a financial legacy, business intelligence, and just some life skills. And well, again, for my TED Talk, and now, my son's doing very well. My daughter has this beautiful daughter, and she's also working on her life plan. So life will come and kick you in the kahunas, but you still got to get back up.
Moving.
You do. Keep it moving. That's what I say, Kim. Just keep it moving.
Thank you so much for being on the show. I feel like we got, not just lessons about being an entrepreneur, but, life lessons, things to think about. And I know that, after listening to your TED Talk, I thought it was absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, as I said, I told Ingrid about it as soon as I started listening to it. But, even going beyond that, I know that, several days after that, I was thinking about, my legacy and the company and that sort of thing. And just wanted to just sat down and figured out what that was going to be for me. And it was great. So, viewers, if you get a chance, or listeners, check out her TED Talk. We'll put a link to it in the show notes. And you can check that out anytime you want to, along with her Instagram and her other social properties.
And it's going to be inspired, we bet.
And if they want to have more questions, they can just follow up with you. Would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Just message me on social media or send me an email at Nakimbe B'aobab at Mappdom.com. I'll leave all that for you, and then you can just type it in.
Perfect. Of course. We will do that.
Thank you guys for having me. Like I said,
thank you so much, Nakimbe. It was
Invited.
so nice to meet you. Well, everyone, thanks for listening to the show. We hope that you've enjoyed it.
We would love to hear your feedback or review. If you loved it, drop us a line. Let us know what business topics are on your mind. We'll make sure to talk about it in an upcoming episode.
If you have any questions or you would like to be featured on the show, message us on social. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Aepiphanni. We'd love to hear from you.
Thanks again for listening. We look forward to seeing you next time on Epiphany Off the Cuff.